I don't know who needs to hear this, but it is quite literally not your job to decode other people's feelings.
I want to take a point to acknowledge the other side of this as well. When we decide that we know what other people are thinking and feeling without asking them, we're doing a pretty significant amount of emotional bypassing. And we're also objectifying them. A lot of the work in being connected and caring for others is taking the time to remember and attempt to understand that they're living a different experience than us, that we don't actually know what they're thinking and feeling. As somebody that at times of my life identified as an empath in the toxic way, and as somebody that struggles to this day with people pleasing and feeling like I'm in trouble, a lot of the decoding I was doing was actually a trauma response, and it wasn't very respectful to the people that I was in relationship with. When we decide that we know what people are thinking, when we know what their feelings are, what their motivations are, we reduce them to essentially a character in our life, something that we can comment on, describe, and react to without actually doing the work to engage with them as a full, autonomous human being. And in this way, we deny them their humanity. Of course, it's important to know whether you're being manipulated or whether these are emotionally abusive tactics like the silent treatment or having someone expect you to constantly be an emotional caretaker, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ways that we unconsciously often read into other people's feelings, decide what they're thinking and feeling, often unconscious again, and then make decisions about them and from our perspective from that place. There have been so many times in my life that I was really struggling with self-esteem, that I was really struggling with feeling not good enough. And so the conclusions that I would come to about other people's words, their tones, their facial expressions wasn't very regulated. I oftentimes assumed the worst. Or, on the other hand, I felt helpless and victimized against other people's feelings. I often felt people's feelings were a manipulation tactic or being used against me because I wasn't doing the work to deal with my discomfort and speak to them like a person, to ask them, hey, what does it mean when you make this face? Or what is that tone of voice? I think there's more to the story than taking on the emotional work of others. I think this can often be a really subtle and insidious way we avoid doing the work ourselves. One of the most joyous and magical parts of being a human is that we're all individuals and we have this short, brief, precious time to get to know ourselves and get to know each other. When we start writing fiction, when we start thinking, feeling, and reacting for other people instead of engaging with them authentically, we lose out on this experience. We end up feeling really misunderstood while the people around us feel the same way. We end up feeling alone or victimized while the people around us wonder what we're thinking and what we're doing. When we decide to be vulnerable, transparent, and we do it in a way that's healthy, right? I'm not saying asking, what's wrong with you? Or being interrogative or assumptive either. I'm saying when we truly attempt to engage with other people's emotional experiences from a place of good faith, we're able to deepen our relationships and understanding of that person and ultimately live richer, healthier, more full lives. I think it's also important to highlight that there are characteristics of abuse that come with characterizing and stating someone's emotional experience for them to them. Telling people that you know better how they feel than they do when you haven't done the diligence to ask them is such a violating experience. Being told that somebody knows more about your internal world and your motivations is an incredibly dehumanizing experience as well. If the goal is connection, if the goal is belonging, if the goal is feeling safe together, safer together, then we need to start being brave enough to ask, and we need to start being brave enough to answer honestly too.